Hello, folks, and welcome back to Tyranny. As always, of course, I am Falcon, your host. If I don't manage to choke myself to death, anyway. a minute or two ago, I was taking a big swig of water and completely swallowed that shit wrong. Completely. And I'm still like, can't breathe. Can't breathe. Yeah. If I manage to not choke myself to death. Okay. So, we are in Tunon's palace. Tunon is over there. And we have 3 additional Fate Binders. This one is the Fate Binder of War. I don't know what these 2 are yet. And we can talk to them about things. And I think we're going to do so. Additionally, we had these tutorial question mark things pop up over here. Telling us about some new stuff, which I didn't notice last time. And the first of those things is when we ended the edict and took control of the tower, we improved our combos with our various companions, and they have done additional things. Now, the main one that I would actually recognize would have been Versus, but since we don't have Verse in the party, the next one that I recognize the most is probably this one. The one with Lantry, because before this would heal the main character, and that would be all it would do. Now, however, it not only heals the main character, heals them for more, I believe, but it also is now an AoE in a radius of 8 meters, and 8 meters is the radius with which we can cast these spells. Well, maybe not with you, but with some of the other people. Let's see. Where's somebody who casts something at 8 meters? God damn it. Okay, they all can cast 10 meters. Alright, well there's 4, so twice that. There's 4 meters, so twice that. So, basically it would get, if I cast it right here, it would get everybody. Which is generally, that's usually, that's 10 meters, so it's not quite that far, but it's pretty damn close. So where she is right now, Ebb might be outside the 8 meter range for my main character. Although I don't actually know who it's centered on. I'm assuming it's centered on the main character. So, I may not quite heal her, but it is fairly rare that we go outside that radius of... Oh, see, that actually it'll show you right there. But it is fairly rare that it will go outside that radius of effect when we're in combat. It is not very common that we go that far away from each other. So generally, this will let me heal the entire party now, which is actually pretty damn good. And it heals for almost half the health now, instead of, well, I don't really know what it did before, but I'm pretty sure it heals for more now, and obviously does the AoE, which before it only healed the main character, so this is actually pretty significant. And that's in just one example. I have no idea what Ebb's was, because we didn't have Ebb before we had this ability. But hers does 30% of damage restored as health, so you have essentially a 30% life leech on the party's attacks for... How long does it last? For 30 seconds. Yeah, for 30 seconds. So, I don't know, does this increase the recovery time, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. But also gives us the ability to heal ourselves for the damage that we do, so also pretty significant. Barracks is, before would be a taunt, which it still does, but now, and still does the reduce their parry and dodge. I don't know if it was this significant before? Because now it's guaranteed, they can't parry or dodge at all. I don't know if it did that, guaranteed before. Removing their ability to parry or dodge. I think it affected their ability to parry and dodge. I don't know if it actually removed it or like it does now. Maybe it did. I don't know. But this other thing that it does do, though, is this Pulse AoE, which gives a extra armor, and actually does an AoE taunt, so it's no longer targeting a specific enemy. It is now all enemies within a certain radius of him will be taunted for a certain amount of time. So that's actually pretty damn cool. Kind of similar to the Clash of Iron, but it's not targeted. It's an AoE around Well, I'm assuming around Barrack. So, yeah, see, it does Lamoral and then Barrack. So it does 2 different effects. And I don't know what Versus was. Versus is the one that I use the most, again, but she's not in the party. So we can't tell for sure. So, also, additionally, ending the edict gave us a great deal of power, which if we open the character thing now, we now have a power meter. What this does? No fucking clue, because we can't actually use it for anything yet. It's just a thing. Don't know what it does. However, a couple episodes ago, when we did first take over the thing, or maybe it was last episode, I don't know, I made a remark that I think I understand something significant about the game now, about the world, and if I'm correct, this power thing will play into that. Maybe not. Again, I'm not going to say what it is, because I want you guys to guess yourselves, and, discover with me for sure when I discover it. So we got the first spire, we can gain additional spires, and we get more power, more capabilities when we do, blah blah blah, and if you have dismissed companions, they will go away, essentially. Sorry. And complete! Alright, so let's talk to the Fatebinder of War, because I want to know what precisely we are dealing with. And I like how they're just straight up under Tunon. They're not like a separate actual faction, they're just straight up Tunon. So how did you become a Fatebinder? Cannot speak for the other Fatebinders, but I joined the court when I was still a young boy, and impetus beyond reason. Impetus? Okay. I've been imprisoned with a death sentence for the crime of desecrating corpses. It was nothing so exciting as you're no doubt imagining. Oh, okay. Good. Because I was concerned for a second. I wouldn't exactly call it exciting either, but, I mean, sure. It was merely burning corpses that awaited burial before the local authority could see me to the gallows. The adjudicator claimed me a great talent waiting to be realized, needing only to be steered. Why were you burning the bodies? Piling up the streets spread plague faster than the filthiest of rats. I was but 10 and a weak fighter. I did what I could for my homeland. So you were trying to help out. Why? What was that a crime then? A time when even the Northmen were of superstitious stock, a time before Kairos brought reason to the realms. The people of my city believed that, without proper rites, I was cheating our fallen warriors from returning to the land. Okay. Well, it's a good thing he spared you then, because it was kind of some bullshit. As I've said, the adjudicator saw with me something of rare value, as is true for us all. You as well were chosen for our great court, for which I am grateful. As the Fatebinder of War, I rely heavily on your talents. So his various masks can be rather unsettling, can't they, even to one such as me, but I can assure you the innocent need not fear their objective, emotionless gaze. What are the adjudicator's masks, specifically, would you like to know? Also, he has different masks. Interesting. I want to know about the silent face. The face that Tunon shows to us now, and for that we are unfortunate beyond belief. The silent face is a patient face, a face for listening as Tunon presides over all matters brought to the court, taking great pains to ensure all sides of an issue are heard. Face of resolve. The last known dawning of the face of resolve was the moment he judged and called ruin to half the districts in the bastard city. Since then he has ruled our northern city justly, calmly, and with efficient diplomacy. Oh. So, the face of resolve is the badass face. He's pissed off. The face that is no more said to have worn a third mask in aeons past. I've heard rumor that the face displeased Kairos and thus was destroyed, as happens to all persons and objects that displease our overlord. Oh, so this was interesting. So this, if it displeased Kairos, it was probably something that was counterproductive to Kairos' ability to control and rule. So it was either made him powerful, or made him defiant. Or possibly both. Have you ever seen him change his masks? In the way that you and I would change our raiment? No, not as such. And yet I've seen the masks shift. They switch without the adjudicator or anyone so much as laying a hand on them. It's not something you can watch unfold. After a time, you really realize it has already happened. There's enough work for the court that we shouldn't occupy ourselves wondering over mysteries. History of the Fatebinders. Seasoned warrior rubs a finger against the line of stubble along his cheek. We're a relatively young order, though we have spanned these past 2 centuries. While the voices of Nerat and Graven Ash need armies to execute their will, Tunon wields but a modest court of vassals. We exist as the extension of his law. No place in all of Terratus beyond our judgment. Tell me more about Kairos' armies, our allies. Oh yes, with friends like these, our work is often self-explanatory. Were you asking about the Scarlet Chorus or the Disfavored? Let's ask about this chorus right now. They hail from every corner of the realm. This chorus marches and conscripts indiscriminately from those it has conquered, replenish its ranks. We know all of this already. Blood chances have taken knowledge from various tiers, mystics, and many of the chorus's best soldiers have grown here in the south. The Iron Grip. Basically information that we already know. Let's not tell anyone that we have claimed the Spire. What are your past victories? You're not tired of my tales, Lamro? I do admit I never tire of telling them. Very well, let me champion the feats of my conquest. Let the glory of Kairos' reign fall on any ears that would hear of it. Maybe you're interested to know that of late I've entreated a forge-bound smith to craft me an iron sword, one he claims will not break in battle. However, and rather unfortunately, there appears to be an extended period of delay for the delivery of goods promised, even for a Fatebinder. I'm not telling anybody that we've claimed the Spire. I have a feeling that's a bad idea. Since you return to the fold, your exploits with Vendrian's Well are a matter of some discussion. The Fatebinder of Balance regards you with a discerning eye, and for a moment you feel as if she's trying to peer into the very depths of your mind. And it happened while I was away. Nunaville was dispatched to Stalwart to break the stalemate between the locals and the disfavored. He proclaimed Kairos' Edict of Storm, shattering the country with winds unending. So Nunaville, which was the war guy, maybe? Not sure. I have to look now. I wasn't paying attention to the names. You seem to know much of my actions, and you've been spying on me. Don't act so surprised. It's my duty to ensure that those who operate under the Adjudicator's name adhere to the spirit of the law, if not the very letter. And those who don't will be dealt with, swift and efficiently, at the point of Bladen Mark's blade. Fatebinder slips a slim dagger from the folds of her purple garb, flipping the weapon almost idly in the air. Of course, that is assuming I don't dispatch them first. I take my duty seriously. I'm very, very good at it. Have you occupied your time in the Bastard City? He sends me on assignments here and there. I settle disputes between the locals when the adjudicator is otherwise occupied. Everything from trade disagreements to pushing chorus squatters out of basements. Real rewarding work. The glory of war is not an honor reserved for the likes of us. With the fish swimming in Tunon's wake, picking up scraps along the way. We're rather large and imposing compared to the bottom feeders of the tiers, but fish, all the same. Tell me about Tunon. He's our overlord's fair and exacting adjudicator. He speaks with the voice of Kairos' law, and his word is judgment. All this and more you can learn by asking him yourself. Go on. Or does he intimidate you still? Just, of course. Concerns about the war. Free to share them in my confidence. Cannot crush the opposition with such weak efforts. We're too lenient. Don't disagree with you, but bear in mind that these southern barbarians are being welcomed into the Empire. Kairos placed no value in a mountain of tearsmen corpses. At least none that I could fathom. Peace cannot follow such cruelty. Armies squabble at each other's throat. Divided, we cannot win. Yeah. Less concerned about the armies and the Archons themselves. There could be no order when mountains collide. Who would you see as a champion? Who would you see as champion? They're both at fault and equally inept. Sounds about right, actually. And then who would lead our advances or be left to deliver Kairos' peace? Would you wear this responsibility as a crown upon your head? You may find it a heavy burden to handle. I think you misunderstand my intent, yeah. I mean, we might take it up. I have a feeling we're going to. For other reasons. But, you misunderstand my intentions. It studies you with a knowing eye. Do I? What about this one? Such is the price of conquest. We will bring order to a land ruled by greed and corruption. When we've shown them the true way of Kairos, the masses will weep their gratitude and beg for our favor. It's already begun with the assembled nobles. What about you? You are the Regalos. You return. Fatebinder return. Looks at you up and down with an inscrutable expression. Looks as if you have questions for me to untangle. Ask. I'm feeling generous. You tell me about some of the past Archons. Rin, the second Archon of Lightning. Okay. It's awful specific. often struggled to control the power that roiled within him. If he suffered but a single slip of concentration, he risked an instant electrocution to his touch. Or so he claimed after killing the first Archon of Water during a diplomatic embrace. Well, lightning and water do not get along. Just say it. Where did you study when you were younger? In the ward of the court for as long as I've been aware. As a child, I demonstrated wholly perfect recall, and I absorbed all that Tunon and my tutors had to offer. I remember hating all the lectures and wishing I could learn it at my own pace. Funny how I envied the sages of the tiers, how they could spend their whole lives reading and never exhaust their library. Of course, now the Vellum Citadel is nothing more than a burning waste. Indeed. What do you think about the other Fatebinders? You need to be more specific than that. I'm afraid there is on last count, slightly more than a handful of us. What's your opinion about war? Nenevil's keen, brash, and a hardy braggart with a fondness for bloodshed. He can be utterly unbearable at times. His justice is fair, even if he skews toward rather exacting and uncompromising punishment at times. There need to be more, balance? Kallio is the finest among us. Her discernment is beyond reproach, and she is perhaps Tunon's favorite. She has a mind for suspicion and observation that makes others uneasy. We who operate within the confines of the law have nothing to fear, of course. What about me? Yeah, you follow an orderly path, regimented and organized, perhaps too orderly for our station, but that is neither here nor there if you execute your job with wisdom. Be sure you don't stray through the path of chaos. Down that way lies rebellion. Aha. What about the old walls in the Bane, which we actually need to know about, because this other tower that we know about is in the old walls, from what I understand. We have to pass through the old walls to get to it, from the sounds of things. So this would be important information to actually have about the old walls. We know little enough about the ancient structures, save that they predate all historical record. The forbidding ruins crisscross the tiers and north alike centuries before we raised our cities. The only one old enough to guess is likely Kairos. Yeah, they crisscross the north, as well as the tiers. Tell me about the Bane. The Bane are found in the old walls. Much of their defining qualities still escape me. They're creatures of smoke, claw, and fang. If you find yourself unfortunate enough to fight one, remember that spells are effective against them, but grab the attention of others lurking nearby. What about the tiers? Tiers are essentially split between the Bastard tier, the Younger Realms, and the Free Cities. Which would you like to know? What about the Bastard tier? The most northern of the tiers was the first to bow to Kairos' reign, though the knee they bent fell unwillingly. Kairos had his eye on the Bastard tier for many years before he marched on her capital city, where we are now. This is the hub of trade and commerce. Claim the markets and the people will follow. What about the Younger Realms? They sprawl the middle and southernmost tiers and can be catalogued as follows. Apex, Azure, Haven, and Stalwart. Azure was renowned for its exceptionally fertile land, which fed the whole of the tiers. That was before Aegis' Edict of Blight, or Stone, rather, blighted the land. Stalwart is also worth mention, for it comprises the whole of the southernmost tier and proves the toughest and most defensible of the realms. And as far as I believe, anyway, by my understanding, is the one that has still not fallen, but the rest of them have. It is often said that the other realms will not fall while Stalwart yet stands. The local army wages bitter war against its disfavor, though the Edict of Storms has cut off the best of the defenses. It's only a matter of time before it falls. About the Free Cities. There are 3 free cities remaining. Last Harbor, Spiral's Maw, and Barris in Chains. The first and strongest of the Free Cities was the Setting Sun, which Kairos crushed in 429 with the Edict of Tumult. I haven't heard of that one. After that, the remaining Free Cities were quick to surrender. I haven't heard of that one before. What was that? What about the Sages? I will not speak of the Sages. They're no better than charlatans and cons, wholly selfish in their ill pursuit to hoard all knowledge from others. They're self-blinded by their own deceptions and clever manipulations. That alone caused their own undoing, and are solely to blame. Well, they alone caused their own undoing, and are solely to blame for the burning library, one of the most grievous of wrongs in the known histories for which they can never be forgiven. I mean, right? Yeah, I still don't know what you're the Fatebinder of. Because you haven't explained what you do. You know what? Fuck it. Let's tell them about the spire. So the court whispers are true. The Fatebinder rubs his fingers along the underside of his chin, pondering his thoughts with great weight. After a moment, he offers you a wistful sort of smile. Someday I would like to witness for myself this tower that has risen above the realms like a blade thrust into the sky. Okay, so he didn't really have anything to say about it. Which I kind of figured he wouldn't. But I was a little concerned. But we were right. He doesn't have anything to say. Which is fine. because that is basically what I was expecting. It is pretty much what I was expecting. Alright, Tunon. What do you have to say to us? What do you want? And the game lags and freezes out.
This feud, is an insult to Kairos' peace. It should not have taken the better part of a year to silence the last vestiges of the Oathbreakers.
I agree.
Our allies squabble while our enemies regroup. It falls upon the court to measure the extent of the damage, and to execute the agents of disorder. I suspect that treachery, negligence, disunity, and greed have infected one or both of our esteemed allies. Until you are instructed otherwise, this matter is the court's primary focus.
But of course.
Graven Ash and the voices of Nerat must be examined in close detail. You are charged with observing the Archons and presenting your case that one of them has wrought chaos and disorder upon the tiers.
What if they're both guilty?
It's possible, but the momentum of the conquest up to this point suggests otherwise. The failure at Vendrian's Well implies a coordinated will behind the chaos.
Fair enough.
As always, you will be held accountable for what you do in the court's name. But you are free to conduct your investigation in the manner of your choosing. You must expect lies, misdirection, and manipulation. Suffer not such obstructions of justice.
Indeed.
The disfavored seem the logical first step in your inquiry. The Legion holds you in some esteem, and Graven Ash has shown deference to the court in times past. No doubt the disfavored will be rife with accusations and evidence against the voices of Nerat. Graven Ash is a noble man, but never underestimate his capacity for deception. A wise general succeeds by knowing when to be unreadable to the enemy. You should, of course, speak with the Scarlet Chorus and gather their testimony, but it stands to reason that most in the chorus would sooner brag about a pauldron fashioned from your skull than entertain your questions. Do not regret killing the rabble that impede your investigation. They will be easily replaced.
If he is guilty, I imagine all soldiers would lie for him.
I concur. Graven Ash has a reputation for honor and nobility, but nobody is above reproach. If he is guilty of treachery in some fashion, his loyal soldiers will not be the ones to betray him. But if anyone is conducting a symphony of lies, common sense would point to the voices of Nerat.
Yeah, most likely.
Your fellow Fatebinders have been busy acting as my eyes and ears. I have a few leads for you to follow. You should, of course, speak with your brothers and sisters of the court if you need further counsel. The disfavored have made use of the Sage's network of dovecotes and messenger birds as they come under capture. I've heard multiple claims of strategic communications gone missing. The Sages are broken, their citadel in flames, but they were not slaughtered to the last. Some of their numbers still congregate around the smoking husk of their burning library. If they have been reading disfavored communications, learn what they learned, then execute them.
Ouch.
There is a final matter to discuss. A sensitive topic.
Well, it's impossible to gauge from his expression. Tunon seems more wary than usual. What concerns the court, Your Honor?
In spite of the many shortcomings at Vendrian's Well, you managed to make a name for yourself. You proclaimed an Edict of Kairos, resolved its demanding conditions, and ascended the mountain spire.
Oh, so you're worried about me.
Any one of these feats would be worthy of recognition by the highest authority. You managed to accomplish 3.
Tunon hovers in observance, awaiting a response. Just another day in the life of a Fatebinder. Gain some wrath. He's like, no, it's not. I'm in a privileged position to accomplish incredible deeds. I'm just doing my job.
Your sense of obligation to your role is admirable, but modesty will not recommend you to the task ahead. Whether by design or by accident, you have captured the attention of Kairos' army and the local tiersmen alike. This is no small opportunity, and the court charges you with exploiting your new standing to its fullest potential.
Oh.
You have a title in our hierarchy. However, it's a little-known secret that one's standing in the world is determined by their infamy, their deeds, and how they come to be known. Mind this notion as you bring justice to this lawless frontier. There may come a time when your deeds speak for you louder than any title.
That already kind of happens, actually. More often than not, there's, we meet somebody and they immediately are like, oh, you did such and such. That's a good thing, or not a good thing, depending.
Whatever you did to capture the attention of the masses at Vendrian's Well, I would encourage you to do so again.
Really? Alright, I'll be known as the champion of justice.
Good. It falls to us to set a new standard for these southern barbarians. Dismissed.
Oh, shit.
Should the court have need of your presence, you will receive word. Go forth and do my bidding, and bring glory and honor to the tears in Kairos' name.
Raps his gravel against the floor, the singular note resounding throughout the hall. I guess that's what that was. That was, what the douche? You just fucking disappeared. Okay.
Right.
Good. Oh. What? Alright then. Alrighty then, boss. Whatever you say. Listening to the war has not caused you to forget your roots. Well, tell me a little bit about Kairos. He's our overlord. She! Oh! You said she. You said she! She ushers us to the brink of chaos with a stern hand and gestures to the way of peace. We're only too eager to follow in her perfect example. How old is Kairos? By our reckoning, her age upon Terratos is magnificent. Her true span defies measurement by our limited construct of time. It would be a waste to spend our few pitiable years attempting to solve that riddle of existence. Think of Kairos not as a subject to beginning... Not a subject to beginning or endings. Kairos is, and Kairos will ever be. What is your relationship with Kairos? She is my master, and I her dutiful pupil. In this respect, you and I are no different. I have the honor of Kairos' confidence. She trusts me to enact her law upon the boundless territory of her rule. I'm only too grateful to serve. You think they're fair? Don't ask. Yeah, that's a bad idea. I actually am going to ask the thing about the woman, though. Gain some wrath, but I'm okay with that. Beware of that trajectory of thought. Save for her perfection, there was little about Kairos to which we would ascribe recognizable attributes. A power as distant and unknowable as the Overlord should transcend our petty dualities. Male, female, it makes no difference. Kairos is mother to us all. What about Blended Mark? He's my headsman and an assassin without equal. His official designation in Kairos' hierarchy is the Archon of Shadows, though I wonder that he ever considers himself aught but a slayer of the unjust. So how'd he earn his title? His work away from the court takes Bloodmark to the dark places of the world, the Tears and the Northern Empire alike. Over time, Shadows became his dominion. They cloak him, protect him, and even fight for him if need arises. He said that Bloodmark can travel to any place where shadows are cast, only he would know this for certain. Does he serve you alone? Your question is flawed. We're all servants of Kairos. The Archons are also agents of their own interests. Those chosen few empowered to bring order to the world in accordance with Kairos' peace. At present, Blendmark is my vassal, and I his patron. The relationship is not so different from Graven Ash and Karn, the fallen Archon, or the voices of Nerat and his songbird, Tyranny. Such partnerings and apprenticeships are common. They provide mutual benefit to the Archons involved, as well as a measure of oversight. What about you? Curiosity is not a trait that I encourage in my servants. Too often have I witnessed such activity leading down to a path to lawlessness. However, if you feel that better to stand in me will inform your work, then I will allow it. What would you know? What's the deal with your mask? What? Seriously, dude? Seriously? Oh, man. That's a little... No. How'd you rise to become an adjudicator? Curb your ambitions, student. My path at this dais is not one that could be replicated under any circumstances. However, if your curiosity is determined, I will tell you my story. Story can teach me nothing of power that I'm not interested. Wish to understand law and your execution of it. My sage friend here would add it to his chronicle that others might learn from it. Oh, gain some loyalty with Lantry. kind of like that one, but I also like the lore one because I really want to gain some additional lore. And it also gives me favor with him. I'll go with that. An admirable pursuit. You know much of Kairos' law and the maintenance of order already. My history may tell you something of how it can be used to win wars. I came into the world centuries ago, before the dream of a unified Northern Empire was fully realized. My home country lay far from the borders of Kairos' realm, and our conquest was a matter of distant speculation. Decades before a rumor of Kairos' approach grew in panicked volume, I familiarized myself with the intricacies of her law. It took me no time at all to realize the benefits of our inevitable subjugation. I took it upon myself to rise in my country's governance as an arbiter of law and drafter of covenants, building some notoriety for my execution of fair justice. As my influence and the trust of my people evolved, my decisions transcended to define future precedent. Go on. What my countrymen could not have surmised was that I had woven into our customs the very backbone of Kairos' law. I set the stage for the conquest of our floundering nation to join the Overlord's empire. By the time that the armies arrived and presented themselves and offered terms of surrender, we had adopted Kairos' peace in all but name. Our absorption into the Northern Empire was a matter of legal formality, negligible changes to our already beloved document of law. The people credited me as the architect of peace, and for a time called me Tunon the Fair. As my importance grew in their estimate, Kairos could not help but learn of the part I played in her bloodless victory. Kairos' law has a breadth of intricacies that is unapproachable to the masses. I was chosen to interpret and represent the Overlord's will across the Northern Empire and beyond, this time as adjudicator. It was my pride, my duty, and my life. What does it mean to be an Archon? A figure of power and significance, and under Kairos' mandate I am able to exercise my authority for the benefit of all. Had I not earned the Overlord's approval, I would not stand tall before you. Did you come into power yourself, or did Kairos foster your talents? An astute question. Doubtless I exhibited some spark of potential of my own, insignificant, though enough to accomplish deeds of note. Only under Kairos' tutelage have I grown to these heights. Can anyone become an Archon? Absolutely not. Only a precious few grow into this authority. Would otherwise, Territos would descend into pandemonium. Of those few who rise into power, fewer still have the self-control to make lawful use of their talents. Of those who can, fewer still are deemed worthy of Kairos' approval. Are all the Archons subservient to Kairos? All are subservient before Kairos, but I intuit your meaning. The Overlord takes great pains to recognize potential. Before an Archon comes into the power, they will have faced the harshest scrutiny by an agent of recruitment, if not Blenmark himself. Those who are found worthy of incredible deeds but refuse to join the strength of the needs of the Empire are doomed to die. Those who wish to make a name for themselves are invited into the fold to serve and rule the needs of the Empire. This is the price of power in Kairos' hierarchy. What's about the Fate Binders? Indirectly, yes. This time, how did you come up with it? Or did you come up with it? This time, representative of Kairos' law across Territos, you are the face of my judgment for the people. I took inspiration from the Overlord's example, as we all should. People needed an approachable face to settle their grievances, and I'm not available to adjudicate on every sharecropper's dispute. Fate Binders were an inevitable solution. So why is curiosity such a problem? Because my vassals are not selected for their independence of thought. You're an agent of law, the execution of which falls within strict confines. Your intellect may aid the tasks ahead of you, but your unwavering obedience is of greater value to me. Don't you want me to interpret Kairos' law to fit any circumstance? Naturally, but take care not to let your intellect veer you from the straightforward path. I've seen it happen, and lost more than one people who thought themselves above their station, convinced that they knew better. And what happened to them? Anyone who overstepped those bounds is given the opportunity to amend their ways. Those who fail to heed my warnings show contempt for Kairos' peace, and are treated accordingly. The purpose of law is to set the standards for others, though I'm generous with this freedom I offer to Fate Binders. You are still inextricably tied to Kairos' law. Straining that tether to a breaking point will reflect poorly upon you. Kairos' law. You are well situated for my court as the legal heart of this corrupt and uncivilized realm. What matters draw your curiosity. You're already well versed in Kairos' law, but I'm happy to discuss the particulars. What the hell does the old walls have to do with the law? And magician, what? Yeah, what about the forbidden knowledge thing? I'm actually kind of interested about some of this. So, start with the old walls. They're forbidden, as are their contents and their denizens. Owning any item from the old walls is considered trespass, regardless of how it came into your possession. Mind that in the course of your travels. As the old walls extend across much of the tiers in Northern Empire alike, Kairos permits her servants to pass only where she has sculpted the landscape to permit traverse. Under no circumstances are you to enter or breach in the old walls, even for a task as innocent as crossing to the other side. If these restrictions seem too severe, I would remind you that they are for the protection of Kairos' subjects. The Overlord has no desire to see harm needlessly inflicted upon her loyal followers. Huh. So, don't go into the old walls, then, because Kairos said so. And the next tower that we know of is possibly inside the old walls. You might start to see what I'm getting at when I'm talking about I might have a clue about something important. Maybe. I've become more convinced of this the more that we read about it. How can the Overlord's name be used? It's not forbidden to cross one's tongue with Kairos' name, but it behooves one to use caution and respect. The Overlord's name is not yours to give, rather the progeny, product, location, or abstraction. Slander of the Overlord is punishable by death. There's only one Kairos, and her name is safeguarded. No one may say Kairos and have it obfuscated by a second meaning. Neither will her name be associated to trivialities. A gambler will not attribute his fortune to Kairos' luck, or his misfortune to Kairos' scorn. Such an association lowers the Overlord in the public estimate, and is rightly considered slander most foul. What about the peace? Cornerstone of our wartime efforts, of course. Guarantees all willing supplicants under the Overlord's authority a place in her world. The exact wording of the bylaws: your life is not yours to discard, the Overlord has plans for you. Damn. This extends to several spheres of influence. Among others, it grants protection to enemies who surrender at a time of war, and it forbids suicide. To dispense with the Overlord's vassal and property is prohibited. Magician's folly. Practitioners of the arcane arts must be sanctioned by one of Kairos' guilds, such as the Blood Chanters or Forge Bound. Rogue magicians with the tenuous grasp of unknown powers would not be tolerated. Ed lowers her gaze to the ground, thumbing the cords of her bandolier in a thinly veiled attempt to appear uninvolved in the discussion. It's like, I'm not, I don't, The orphan mage there is covered by the aegis of the Blood Chanters Guild. When you consigned the elders of the school to their fate, all of her tradition are now, in the eyes of the law, Blood Chanters. Diplomatic immunity, and all it cost me was my dignity. So I'm a Blood Chanter in the eyes of the law. Just salt the wounds, why don't you? A sanctioned mage whose spellcasting causes damage to life or property is lawfully deemed innocent. As long as they practice their art in the service of Kairos, all is forgiven. I don't really care about the quotas and sharing thing too much. Although, well, we'll ask about it anyway. Harvest blooms and blights by the will of Kairos. In times of lean, you will be fed. In times of wealth, you will feed others. The law is a sizable category unto itself, serving many needs at once, trade and tax being only two examples. The broadest intent of the law is to empower Kairos' subjects to care for their neighbor and expect care in return. You might take note of the law's application to trade. Merchants' right to peddle their wares is defined by permits granted annually. The regional authority has the right to decide if a merchant sells cabbage one year and sandals the next, and when breaking through their restrictions, is subject to immediate forfeiture of all assets. You need not concern yourself over the nuances, at least until they apply to this contested realm in time of peace. What about forbidden knowledge? Herself sets the standards of what can and cannot be known. These restrictions are rarely enforced, but they're worth taking into account. During the war, for example, Kairos deemed the knowledge of the Velen Citadel taboo. No one may possess the wisdom of that fallen repository save Kairos herself. Pointing at all taboo seems a little bit like overkill, but to play Kairos' advocate, the world would hardly be safer if all had access to the lore of making poisons, to the art of arming brigands, and fine bronze. True. This is for the protection of her subjects. Before the coming of Kairos, during the ages of anarchy and discord, powerful knowledge and undeserving hands leveled empires without thought or mercy. There's no desire to revisit those dark times. Am I beholden to these laws? We've already seen that we're kind of, sort of, yes and no. That should not be in question. We are all subject to Kairos, so laws define and regulate our very way of life. With that said, as an agent of law, you are granted more leeway than a soldier or citizen. You may find yourself compelled to commit morally questionable acts in the name of Kairos. If it serves the court's justice, much may be forgiven. So the rules don't apply to you as long as you're enforcing them on someone else. That wasn't your job. If the court finds any of your actions suspect, we will summon you to answer for yourself. Your testimony will be heard and judgment rendered. You're exceedingly curious about the application of Kairos' law. I find it refreshing that you would seek my counsel, Fateminder. Yeah, well, I wanted to know a little bit more details about it. Particularly the forbidden knowledge, the old walls, and what was the other subject? Whatever. It was like one other one that I forgot now. Nothing to say. Okay, I thought maybe that they would have something of interest to talk to me about, but appears not. Appears not. Can we ask? Can we talk to Bitterquip again? Or Blood Mulch or any of these people and maybe get some more information out of them? I kinda doubt it, but maybe not. Maybe we can. This Tunon age has not made him as nihilistic as the voices of Narat. Okay, so none of you will talk to me. I was just wondering if maybe we can interrogate them some more or something, but it appears not. Alright. Oh, what happened? Oh, are you Blood and Mark? I can only assume that you are. Yeah. Welcome back, kid. Reason it was as it would have been to watch the edict drop. I guess I'm glad you lived. The Archon of Shadows arouses from a faraway stare, turning to face you with a wry smile. Though he stands still, he seems to sift in and out of the shadows that shroud him, so he has his own separate favor and wrath. Interesting. Here you threw your reins on Graven Ash's side. Not a bad bet to pick the Archon of War. But tell me the truth, did you go with the Ash because it seems like the right thing to do, or because supporting the Forces was a worst option? I mean, kind of. Neither Arkham was at their best, but Graven Ash is the more capable warlord. Lives depended on military success, I was not about to hand control to the Archon of Secrets. What sane creature would trust the voices of Narat? Damn, what's it to you, Archon of the Elderly? Dude, seriously, brutal. Also, really dangerous. I mean, real talk, Graven Ash is the more capable warlord, and, I mean, technically I like all of these, but I don't go that one. Syrian are nothing if not blindly devoted to their general, and though few in number, they are surprisingly difficult to kill. I don't have to like it to understand it. We both have our ways of turning the tides of war. I got some extra favor with the disfavored. All that matters is that the Edict of Execution was stayed. Those stationed at Adrian's Wall should be thanking you for their lives. Now I assume you're off to go meet with Ash, but first you and I need to have a little chat. I don't think we do. And that's a really bad idea. I'm listening. Everyone's keeping an eye on you because you did something nobody has done before. Got a guess as to what that might be? First Fatebinder engaged in war against an ally soldier. First Fatebinder complained 2 edicts. Technically true. First to resolve an edict before its consequences came to pass. Also possibly true. Let's make a Spire of the Old Walls. That's definitely probably the main one. Side approach to some position of authority. Basic stance against your rhetorical questions. And I love how that gives me favor. Holy shit. Dude, I like it. Oh, I'm gonna go... Well, fuck. I mean, these all give favor. I'm gonna go with the Spire, though, because I think that's the biggest one that we've done. Oh, you're not wrong. That was definitely a shock, but I doubt it's the sole reason you've made the tears tremble. Proclaiming an edict isn't new, neither surviving or resolving the commandments of an edict, but you're the first to proclaim and resolve the very same edict, and it didn't kill you. In one fell swoop, you survived your second edict, resolved the very one you had proclaimed, and woke an arcane structure that had slept for several centuries. Why are you telling me this? Did I do something wrong? And now I go on your short list of people who stand out as potential problems. Why should I care about any of this? I'm gonna go with this one. More or less. Mostly more. It offers you a dangerous grin. You'll gain more favor with him. I don't care what we do with our information, but you should know the danger you're in now that you've put yourself on the map. Sticking with the disfavored is a smart idea, kid, at least smarter than getting mixed up with the Archon of Secrets. You'd never really be one of them, but if you value Ash's warriors, they'll serve you the best that they can. Thanks for the advice. The Archon of Shadows shrugs to you and farewell, but his golden eyes are alight with interest as he watches you. Is he going to disappear? No. Oh, we gained favor ability. What did we get here? Is this the upgraded one? It is. So we have the shield now. Cool. We're a little breathing room. Oh, so he won't talk to me again. Interesting. Interesting. Alright. Well, technically we're supposed to go to Ironhearth, but let's go to the Sunset Spire. Lethian's Crossing. The growing trading settlement, the nearby rivers are rich in iron ore, though the locals lack the technology to smelt and forge the element. In the years following Kairos' conquest of the Tears, the population of Lethian's Crossing swelled with refugees fleeing the destruction of their homelands. The presence of the forge-bound mining the iron, along with their guards, makes this makeshift settlement a vital resource for Kairos' armies. Briefly garrisoned during Kairos' conquest of the Tears, the settlement was taken over by a band of mercenaries known as the Bronze Brotherhood after Kairos' forces abandoned the settlement. We abandoned it? Why did we abandon it? Why did we abandon it when it is useful for us to get iron and stuff? Interesting. So, we're gonna go there. Oh, good! A group of mercenaries, members of the Bronze Brotherhood, are blocking the road. Again, I don't think this is a random encounter. I think this is a planned story encounter, actually. I think. Could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure that this is intended. So we're gonna fight this battle. We're gonna get to Lethian's Crossing. We're actually gonna have to end the episode. So this has been a lore heavy episode, almost entirely that. This will be the only combat probably in the, well, assuming we actually have combat here. This will be the only combat in the episode. That was a fairly long loading screen. Alright, so I love how we've been ambushed and yet we're not in combat.
I'll stay downwind of our enemies.
Okay. I mean, sure. Raider, Bruiser, a river. Alright, so the river is not going to do much for us. Because we can't really move through the river or anything, so let's actually save the game real quick, because I don't know how, like, demand to be let through. Aster. What the hell's Aster?
You want me to be subtle? Fine.
Those are disfavored bodies. Rotomon. Striking man with a shock of bright blonde hair stands here, observing some men searching bodies of slain disfavored soldiers. He watches you approach, his angular features pulling into a look of disdain. And here's the Fatebinder. There's a mask of displeasure in his voice. I knew he'd see you, I was just wondering when. What brings you out here when no one asks you to come? Are Kairos' dogs ready to be put down again? I won't surrender the crossing, no matter how many times you try to take it. We're hired to protect the city. We'll continue to do so. No one else will have it. He glances at his men who've stopped to watch the conversation. With a start, they return to searching the bodies. Never mind. He waves at his hand dismissively. I don't care why you're here. My name is Ratomon. I'm the leader of the Bronze Brotherhood. Watch yourself while you're a guest in my land. If you have come to stir up more trouble, we're well equipped, and we will not back down in the defense of what is rightfully ours. He sweeps his arm in front of him, gesturing to the surrounding countryside. Welby and I might not always agree, but that is one point we see eye to eye on. If you stepped out of line, we will both correct you. His eyes narrow and he leans toward you. You are not welcome here. Now tell me what you want, or leave. You do well to watch your tone when speaking to a Fatebinder. What's so important about those bodies? They were undoubtedly scouts sent by Kairos to ascertain our defenses. And when one group is found, many others are sure to follow. We're looking for anything that will tell us how many there are, and where they will strike next. We tried to take Lethian's Crossing back already, and failed. If the forces are too numerous this time, we might not be able to hold it again. Well, you would do well to watch your tone. I care not about Kairos' forces. We rebuffed their feeble attempt to remove us from our rightful home once already. I am more than happy to try again. You will find that I do not cower when you raise your voice against me, lapdog. So, tell me about this Bronze Brotherhood. In fact, we can open this up. You're from the Free Cities. The Kairos' agents were slaughtered during the war. They survived thanks to their safe hosting at the crossing. The forces of Narat hired the company to help protect the town's forge operation. Interesting. Among the most trained and dedicated warriors of the tiers, the Bronze Brotherhood had a reputation for ruthlessness and tenacity. Term brother. Tell me about your group. We're a humble group with noble, long-held traditions on the side of right and honor. This force fills with pride. If there's an injustice that needs to be rectified, we are called. Sounds like you're upstanding citizens. Yes, we are, Fatebinder. His face breaks into a giant smile. I'm glad that someone finally sees us for what we are. Tired of people calling us mercenaries and sellswords. So we get paid for what we do. We need to live. Tell me about Welby. Shoots and look to the north. I had such high hopes for her as my first axe. Continued success of the Brotherhood should be the single most important goal for anyone who is a member. She seems to have forgotten her place. She is not the head of this band. I am. If she doesn't stop overreaching, I will have to replace her with someone who knows how to obey. Why is it so important to you? We were asked to do a job and we did it. Then what happens? Kairos attempts to reject us from our home. Makes a gesture to the north toward Lethian's Crossing. By all rights, that city is ours, and suddenly Kairos wants it? I intend to keep it. I refuse to leave. We protected the crossing for years, and even ensured Kairos' forces could do business here when Narat asked us to. No, we did the job we were asked, and this land belongs to us. You said you don't do it for the money, but that's why you were fighting over it. I don't appreciate your tone, or the implications of what you're saying, Fatebinder. His eyes are hard, and his voice is flat. This is a mere matter of principle. We performed a service, and we were paid for that service. Don't try to glibly explain away a complex situation. This is our home. This is my home. I will have it, no one else. Now, if you all come here to do is insult me and mine, I would suggest that you leave. Well, I need to go there. You see, with an incredulous expression. Absolutely not! You must be crazy if you think I'm letting a disfavored sympathizer through to my city. Who knows what plans you would make to undermine my authority? Crosses his arms over his chest. You have some nerve. I certainly hope that isn't the case. If I kind of like him, but at the same time, Aster. Oh, okay, so you're a person from the crossing. Small figure stands before some armor-clad soldiers. His arms move wildly as he gestures in frustration, yelling at the man directly in front of him. Absolutely not! I've come through Ironhall Trail more times than I can remember. No one ever asked for a toll before, and I won't be paying one now. He notices you standing nearby and turns to speak. Fatebinder, surely you, of all people, can help me. My name is Aster, and I must go to Lethian's Crossing. I have goods to deliver. Tell this man I will not be paying a toll to him or anyone, and he is to let me through. He folds his arms over his chest and nods with a pronounced finality. Greetings, Fatebinder. I'm sorry you have to be drawn into this. What you've stumbled onto here is merely a conflict of the changing times. I'm Will, the Bronze Brotherhood. Ironhall Trail is under our protection, and anyone passing through must obey our rules. If this gentleman would like passage through our land, a simple donation is required. He folds out his hand. His funds help our cause and keep Ironhall a safe place for all travelers. Clearly you both can see the value in that. Master speaks, his arms swinging about again, emphasizing his words. And who exactly is he keeping it safe? And who exactly is keeping it safe? You standing there with your weapons ready against me? His arms drop until he turns to you again. I'm not but a traveling merchant. I have no money to spare, and I certainly pose no threat to anyone. Keep this area safe indeed. You're the only threat here. Fatebinder, please, talk some sense into this man. Gives payment for the merchant to pass unharmed. This man will not be paying a toll today. Call your guards off and allow us passage immediately. If you pass through before, it means nothing. Pay the toll now or head back. Try my patience. Gain favor if we pay the toll. And 50 reins is not that. Wait. Reins. What kind of reins? Alright, whatever, we'll do that. No, copper. Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you, Fightbinder. You've done a great deal of good today. He bows dramatically, turns back to the soldier. And you, brute, move aside and let me pass. Will makes an exaggerated flourish and moves out of Asta's way. But of course. He raises an enormous hammer and stops Asta, pressing it against his chest. Although, merchant, do be sure to have some reins of your own for your trip back. I doubt your friend here will be around to pay your way through these lands twice. He smiles, moves his hammer, and gestures for Asta to continue. Well then. He returns to his position and looks you over, his former genial mood gone. So, a Fatebinder in our little corner of the world. Who'd have ever thought that would happen? He spits between his feet and then crushes it in the dirt with his boot. While I appreciate your help dealing with that merchant, I'm afraid I can't let you pass until you've spoken with our leader, Radamon. Personally, I thought he was crazy saying he'd be visiting Lethian's Crossing. Looks like I owe him a few rings. Shakes the pouch around his neck, making the rings jingle inside melodically. Not that there's a shortage of those out here. Look at these humble servant of the Brotherhood do for you, Fatebinder, and don't ask me to let you through, because that isn't going to happen. This ridiculous piece of mercenary offal requires a lesson in pain and obedience. Allow me to teach it to him. If you can get him to move, go for it. Sellsword, attend me. I take it your responsibilities have been explained to you? Keep the rabble on this side of the bridge, yes. It does not preclude taking orders from your betters. Gain some extra loyalty with him, that's good. We're almost at level 3 now. One of two things will happen. Either you will let us pass, or we will simply pass. There are no other options. Whatever role you've taken upon yourself to bar our way has already failed. You succeed only in delaying our task and annoying me. Is your name Radamon? Are you the leader of the Brotherhood? Cups is here to listen. No? I don't think so. Because he decides who crosses and who doesn't. If you have a problem with that, take it up with him. Ash, forgive me, but I can only endure so much of this fool's inane jabbering. A blur of rusted metal precedes a deafening crunch as Barrack backhands the mercenary, leaving a significant mark behind. Gained wrath with the Brotherhood. It's fine. Rubs his cheek. Hold on, I'm just doing my job. I apologize if I offended. Radamon will have my head if I let you through. There's nothing I can do about it.
On it.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to end the episode here, but I think we can go and talk to... What was her name? The other person? Welby, yes. Welby might actually... Cyclical energies. Uses the spell's cooldown. Okay. Sure. Bronze guitar. That might be a good weapon for, our other person whose name now escapes me for the temporary moment. But not probably for ourselves. At least not right now. Alright, so we have to talk to Welby next time, but that's going to happen next time. And then, failing that, we're going to have to probably smash our way through these guys, which I'm not a huge fan of looking forward to, but we'll see. So I will see you folks then. Take it easy. Have a good day, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.